My name is Christie Uipi. I am a psychotherapist. I run the Better Mind Center, which is a group practice of other psychotherapists. I got into podcasting kind of through a back door I can talk about at some point here. I actually originally came to Los Angeles to be a theater nerd, and I loved being on stage and I loved stories. And that was great when I was in high school and the pond was like 200 theater nerds. But once I got to LA, I pretty quickly realized I am not cut out for this. This is not my vibe. I am not that big of a personality and I am not talented enough for that. But I still loved stories so much. So that love of stories and working with people, which I think is at the heart of theater, led me into pursuing something to do with therapy or social work. I ultimately got my degree in social work, but really wanted to be a clinical psychotherapist, which is what I do full time. And I think there are so many overlaps in terms of storytelling between therapy and theater and the impact that it has on people and the audience. So I don't think a lot of psychotherapists love being on stage and love the spotlight. We're support people. So finding myself in a role where I am on screen and podcasting maybe comes a bit more naturally to me because I had a foot in the door from it earlier. But for me, all of it, theater has to do with storytelling. Psychotherapy has to do with storytelling. Podcasting is about good storytelling and telling people's stories and getting them out there. So that's how I became interested in all of this. And I'm a mom and I've lived in LA for a long time and I'm figuring it out now with 2 little kids and I love it. My podcast is called Like Mind, Like Body. It is for the app Curable. Curable is an app and a guided recovery program for chronic pain and chronic symptoms within the field of psychotherapy. So it's super niche. This idea of pain in your body can be caused by brain processes, which is why I am hosting it as a psychotherapist. And while I am in the host role, the app Curable is totally in charge of all the back end stuff that has to do with the podcast. And I consider it theirs. I work with them and for them. And I love getting to be the host of the show. Mind-body symptoms are really easy to explain if you think about them in an acute way. So if you have ever blushed because you're embarrassed, you've had a mind-body symptom. When you blush, the color changes in your cheeks. It feels warm to the touch. There's nothing physically wrong with your cheeks. You don't have to go to the doctor and say, what happened and what is the treatment for blushing? It's just known and recognized. Blushing is a mind-body reaction. You might not use that language, but it is. A tension headache is another really clear example of this. Lots of people have a stress headache after work. So they might say, oh my God, my boss and I really got into it. My head hurts so badly. And the understanding underneath that is the stress caused this headache. So acute, short-term, passing mind-body reactions are commonplace. We just don't usually use that language. Chronic pain is very often caused by the exact same processes. It's just that the stressor doesn't wash away overnight. So when you blush, something is making you embarrassed in that moment, and then your body recovers, you recover, and the blushing goes down. Tension headaches, the stressor passes, you go to sleep, the workday is over, you wake up and you feel better. Chronic mind-body symptoms occur for a lot of reasons, but one primary one for the purpose of this conversation is the stressor does not go away overnight. You're in an ongoing stressful situation, or you have an ongoing dysregulated nervous system, or are a person who kind of trends anxious, which I say with love because I do. So everyone has mind-body reactions. They just don't know it or call it that, and they often don't realize it if it's chronic in nature. If you are a person who has a relationship with yourself and the world around you that is riddled with pressure, intensity, criticism, fear, worry, anything that activates your nervous system up, you're more prone to developing chronic symptoms. So there's a huge overlap between anxiety and chronic symptoms. And I don't just mean social anxiety. Some people get those things confused. They say, I'm not anxious. I'm not shy at all. I'm a leader in my field. Chronic pain is like the invisible plague of highly functioning, highly successful people because they have so much going on, because they have so much pressure and so much that they're carrying. Absolutely. Yeah. And people don't know it. People don't, again, this language has not made its way to mainstream medicine yet. So when you hurt your back, you go to the doctor does some sort of an MRI and it's like, oh, you got a little disc bulge there. So 90% of the population by the time they're like 50 has a disc bulge. By the time you're 20, 50% of 20-year-olds have a disc bulge. It doesn't mean that causes pain. So there's a ton of like poor miseducation around there and using images to say that something's causal to pain when it's not. It's just a normal abnormality in your body, like wrinkles. Wrinkles on your face are a sign of age. They don't hurt. When you age, like as you get older, your spine wrinkles on the inside. You get disc bulges, disc desiccation. It's a real failure area of the mainstream medicine that this is not better known because it's incredibly common. Hosting the podcast for a company has been such a win-win for both my company and theirs. So Curable is a huge company and they have a huge vision around getting the word out to mainstream medicine that chronic pain and chronic symptoms can be brain-based. Again, that's super niche in the mainstream world. For me, it's not. For me, it's everything like I live and breathe in my private practice in my company. But for the world at large, this is something that a lot of people haven't heard of. So Curable's main aim is to be able to get the word out so that more people married on the street, your local doctor, are able to recognize this as the source of pain. So the more that I'm able to help communicate that message, it serves that company and their massive macro aim really well. But I work on a micro level. I'm not doing macro level work in my private practice, in my group practice. So I have my own set of clients. And like I said, I run a group practice full of other psychotherapists and we do one-to-one work. And I think the relationship works really well together because the podcast gets the words out there to the masses, which helps Curable's aims. But then those masses of people need help. So when I am able to communicate how I work effectively on the podcast, when people can attach to me, my story, my way of operating, and I am able to communicate something that lands with them personally as a person in pain, a person with symptoms, a person who needs psychotherapeutic help, they're going to reach out to me and my group for one-on-one help. So both aims are being met at the same time. So I was really persistent with Curable. So Curable is a well-known force in the field because they're doing that macro level work. They already have, they're light years ahead of so many other companies, groups, products, apps in terms of getting in front of a large audience and communicating this message. And I love the team of people running it. They're just like badass, wonderful, kind-hearted people. So I had just been kind of following them around, like staying close to the app, showing my support, offering help, showing them samples of my work, just emailing them like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Could it be useful at all to your app? And just remaining close to them as people. But they were small when they started. There were 3 co-founders and it's not that they didn't need help. They just didn't have capacity to grow in that way. But I tried to stay really close with them from the beginning, both because I could sense that we had mutual aims that might be beneficial to each other. But honestly, I like to be around good people and help good causes. And at a certain point, they got to a place where their company was so big that one of the co-founders was running the podcast. And I took a meeting with her and she was like, I cannot do this at this point. The app needs my bandwidth in other places. And we just need a different vibe for the show anyway. So they asked me to try a few episodes on to see how it felt, kind of as a trial for both of us. And then we've continued it ever since. I think there is a lot of mutual benefit when I'm thinking about marketing Curable and marketing myself. Marketing myself inherently helps market my group practice because there's a million psychotherapists out there. You're looking for a goodness of fit. When you are hurting, when you want to talk to someone, you don't often just Google like psychotherapist closest to me. Like the number one question I get asked as a human in the world who is a psychotherapist is, how do I find a psychotherapist that I am going to really vibe with? So podcasting is fantastic for that because people get to see and hear my voice. It's not going to land with everyone, but for the people that it does, it's like, well, I already know what she's like. I can imagine sitting in a room with her. So I don't have to think a ton about how to market myself and inherently the group because me being me is going to attract the people it's meant to attract. And that's worked well enough on my end. And I think because Curable as a company has kind heart, of course, they're a company, they want to grow, they want to do well, and they're successful. But their aim is really virtuous. Like and I know them, I know the co-founders, like they went through chronic pain themselves. They really have their heart in this. They've grown sustainably. They want to help people in real, meaningful ways. So nothing about it feels like too showy in terms of marketing the app. It's like the more that I offer good work through the podcast, the more people are going to be drawn to the app to get their healing work done. So again, it's really beneficial with the app as a healing product that people can access, and it's low cost and it's affordable and it's at your fingertips. And lots of people need extra help and one-on-one support, and that's where I come in. So we have overlapping aims, but we do slightly different things. The company offers like wide-scale macro level help, and I offer one-on-one micro level help. And so it's been a great blend that's just worked out well. So there have been times where people, like the masses, have gotten confused. And sometimes people will reach out to me asking a question specific to the way that Curable, the app or the platform, works. And I'll just have to explain in that moment. I am not contracted to work as an employee for Curable. I don't know the back end of it. I just support their mission. So sometimes it can get a little bit confusing, but that is rare and kind of a one-off. By and large, people can recognize the distinction because it's overlapping, but quite clear. Like I'm a psychotherapist. I'm not an app developer. I can't really launch a platform in that way. So every once in a while, it feels a little bit confusing, but nothing that a quick clarification can't help. In terms of the experience of working with a corporate team, for me, it feels supportive because I'm one person and I'm new to podcasting. I've never launched a podcast on my own. I don't know a lot that goes into the back end of it. So the fact that I can jump in and be the face and the voice and use my expertise without having to learn everything else that comes with podcasting and launching and marketing and promotion, what a gift that I'm not having to hold all of that. And that is just a logistical lift that I don't have to worry about. And then as a person, it just feels really supportive. I can bounce ideas around from a team of people. I can ask them for help booking guests. Like they'll step in anytime that I need them. So as an experience, it's been fantastic. I find a blend of two things that might seem almost opposite in nature, but I think both are important. The first being take the lead on as many things as you can. Generally speaking, if it's a bigger company or a corporation, they have a lot of aims, and podcasting is only one of them. So as much as you can take off of their plate, as much as you can own and make it your own, first of all, the company is probably going to appreciate it because it's less work for them to do and they can trust you. And then secondly, it's going to be beneficial for you. You're not just there to help their aims, you're also there to plug into your own. So if you can take the lead and put your imprint on it, you're going to feel better about it and they're going to trust you more. So I would say don't be afraid to take the lead on things. And at the same time, keep the respect at the forefront of the relationship. Like I never lose sight of the fact that this is an opportunity for me, one that I'm really grateful for. When I want to do a good job and I want to be respectful of their aims, their goal, the fact that this is a privileged position to be in front of their audience. So yes, I'll take the lead and I'll ask for feedback and I'll be really flexible. And if there's a guest that's really important for them to bring on, like I will make that guest important to me. And I think combining both of those things keeps the relationship feeling good on both ends. The amount of preparation that it took when I was doing the initial episodes was a little bit shocking in retrospect. I felt, because this is new for me, as I do most of my work behind closed doors. It's literally confidential. The only person who ever hears me talk is my client. We don't share about it outside of the room. So to shift into this public role and to know that it's recorded and it's going to be distributed to this wide audience for a company that I care deeply about and I want to do a job well for them. Like so embarrassing to admit in retrospect, and I'm really glad I've moved past it. But I would literally write a full script for every possible question and answer set that came up verbatim. And then I would memorize it. I would commit it to memory. It took, because I, for whatever reason, thought that having any notes would detract from my ability to answer as if it were off the cuff when it was not off the cuff. So it's like, if I'm looking at notes, they're going to know I'm reading verbatim. So I committed every word to memory, which was insane because I don't know. Because again, I'm not, that's not my thing. That's not the way my brain works. And it's a lot to remember, like word for word, paragraph by paragraph, an hour and a half long show. So doing that was pretty tiring. And I, over time, started paring that back. Like first, I would still write it verbatim, but I wouldn't memorize it verbatim. I would just like memorize some of it. And then I started saying like, I don't need to memorize it. I've done enough prep. And then I stopped writing it out word for word. And then I started doing bullet points. And now I'm like, of course, I take the time to, if I have a guest on, I'm going to research the guest out of respect to them. I need to do enough prep to know who they are and what's important to them. But other than that, I have stopped that preparation. So it is a world of difference because now first of all, I'm way more in the moment. And second of all, I just enjoy it so much more. And I don't really know if I could do it differently, to be honest, because again, therapists are not performers. Like maybe other fields or other people are just really natural at this. But when I bring other clinicians on as guests, they're constantly asking me they're really nervous. They get into the studio and they are scared. Like the lights trip them up, the cameras trip them up. Like we could be having a completely normal conversation outside the studio where we're reviewing the notes. They can say everything easy peasy. They know it like the back of their hand. They come into the studio and sit down and I watch their minds leave their bodies. So I'm not positive I could have done it differently. Like it is what allowed me to feel comfortable. And it's the same advice I give other people when they're brand new, but I can't say it was enjoyable. I think of two things. I don't know which is more important in terms of coming up with a guest. I'll say the more boring one first. They got to know their stuff. Like I don't want to bring someone on who's going to say the same thing in from a Psych 101 class. Like I'm hoping someone has a unique perspective, a unique take. They deliver, even if it's information that like no one really has new ideas anymore. We're all just circulating the same thing. Like there's a lot. It's just hard to have a brand new novel idea, but the packaging matters and the person matters and their flair matters. So I want them to really know their stuff and have something that is unique. And then secondly, again, I'm not even sure which one is more important. I want to get to have a vibrant dialogue with them in the room. So if I'm on my prep call, a good indication for me that they're going to be a great guest is I don't want to get off the prep call. I'm like, I'm really enjoying this. Like, I want to stay on and talk to you more and longer. Like, if you have that effect on me and the call, you're probably going to have that effect on the audience. So yeah, people's attention spans are like 10 seconds. If you're running an hour, 90-minute podcast, like you got to have a good dynamic. I think I believed being the host of a podcast would have an immediate impact on my business. So this is independent from my relationship to Curable. I'm not sure what impact it had on them immediately or not. And I always hope it's a good one. But for me and my business, it took time. And I think anyone who's been in the podcasting field for a while would be listening to this and say like, yeah, duh. But for me, that was new. That was new information for me. When I went into it, I thought if I have a great episode, it's going to immediately draw people in a sustainable way. But again, people's attention spans are short. There's new episodes to everything all the time. So it's been a cumulative effect for me of consistently having my voice up, not only having my voice out there, but like people getting to know me over time. And that has helped a lot. So it went somewhere. But yeah, you have to keep at it. It takes time and it's not immediate. I've learned that I'm more confident than I thought, to be honest. I also learned I'm a spaz, I'm a freaking spaz. Like hosting something as a psychotherapist for a treatment that is meant to be really calming and relaxing. Like, dude, I'm a spaz. I'm in there like moving around. I'm constantly hitting the mic with my hand. We'll have like commenters on our social media posts being like, tell her to slow down. So I cannot. This is who I am. And I've really just embraced that. Like, again, I am not forever. I'm doing the best I can and I'm never going to be for everyone. So there's that. But I've also learned I am more confident than I thought. Like I will find a way. Even like I'm way more comfortable with mistakes. I'm way more comfortable with things coming out wrong. I'm way more comfortable leaving the studio being like, I'm not sure I said that right, or that I don't know if that was my strongest episode, and just accepting that and moving on and knowing like I'll have another chance soon. And I'm a human. So that's been fun. Podcasting helps so much. Oh my gosh. We do this. And again, I work in a super niche field, which is also another big piece of advice I give to literally everyone, regardless of what they do, is like find your niche and be big in it. But in my niche, we have once a year in the States anyway, an annual conference where like as many of us as are available come together to present. And the jump for me was so huge because I've been going for some time, for a few years now. And when I went pre-podcast, like I had my friends and my colleagues and the people who knew me. And when I came post-podcast, I was like, oh, when I walk in the room, a lot of people here know me and I don't know them. So the visibility is different. And you're more, I have found for me in my space and what I do, it's led to other speaking engagements. Because again, it's a walking advertisement for how I speak and how I communicate ideas. So it'll open doors for presentations or lectures or whatever. So the marketability has been great. I have definitely learned flexibility and recognizing you can put all the prep in the world into a show. And again, if you're doing with a guest and someone, or even probably with a co-host, the show might go in a direction that you weren't anticipating, and having to pivot many times and be okay with that. And, or the flexibility to have the conversation go a way you weren't expecting and then get it back on the track you were hoping for. So that sort of flexibility and like a synthesizing the conversation, even if it goes in an unexpected direction, to bring it back to where you'd like it to go. So that feels like flexibility in every direction. There was one other thing I wanted to say that I learned. What was it? Oh, and I think it's just made me a lot more comfortable with public speaking. I think most people don't enjoy that. And the people who do naturally enjoy public speaking are just incredible unicorn freaks. And I'm not that way. I am not a natural public speaker. So that's helped me as well. Just get used to, even if with the podcast, the audience is invisible to me, when you have a camera on you, you know that they're there. So it's just exposure to that pressure, which has been helpful. If I were starting over, I would be myself quicker, because for the first number of episodes, for the first year of my contract, I feel like I was a dialed down version of myself. And that was a mix of things. For me, I was inheriting the podcast from somebody else, and I wanted to be respectful of the previous host. I also was nervous if I was too big of a personality, like maybe that's not what the company I was working with, Curable, wanted. Like maybe if I was a more sort of vanilla or adaptable or neutral person, it would get their message across better. So it was still me. I was just a quieter version of me. And I would do that differently. I would just come in hard as who I am. It is literally impossible. You're never going to please everyone. You're always going to have people who don't like your style, even if you're trying to be some vague, amorphous, like blanket of a person. So I would have just been more comfortable being my spazzy, loud, quirky, anxious self. And that's also, again, that is me, and it's selling me. And I think it's more authentic. So I would have done that different. I think the authenticity was definitely noticed. I would have to go back and check how much it actually changed engagement on metrics, like with promotional posts or with listenership. And again, I don't run a lot of the back end of that, which is a gift. So sometimes like ignorance is bliss for me. But in terms of my aims with my group practice, some of this was the accumulation of episodes started to bring more business in. But I think a big part of it was people got to know me, and they were coming to the group because they're like, I know that woman. She's familiar to me. And I had to be more authentic for that to start to happen. And I got feedback from Curable, from the company that I work for. They could feel a shift. And I got lots of, when I started being more authentic, I would hear things like, you're finding your groove. And I'm so lucky that I got support from them. The thing I was afraid of was actually what they were hoping for. I was afraid to be too much myself, and I got such positive feedback from them. So I'm just really lucky in the partnership. 2 ways. So one of which is totally tied to the Curable community, and one of which is more tied to my group practice. So I have a presence on social media with my group practice that's just me. It's branded through my name, and there's a lot of cross collaboration and cross posting between my stuff and the podcast stuff. So I can engage with the audience there just in comments and in messages and encouraging them to continue listening to the show or getting their feedback or whatever. So that feels specific to me. And then specific to Curable, because I host their show, I also do work within the app. The podcast, anyone can listen to it. It's free. You can get it on any streaming platform. But they also have lectures and presentations and stuff that are only for Curable members. And they often tell me like, oh, your events get a lot of viewers. And I think that's because I have access to the larger audience outside of the app as well. So I get to, that's fun. That's fun for me to do those events and get a ton of engagement. And they'll comment in like, I listened to your show, which is cool. I have a lot of fun on a show talking about chronic pain, which is really not fun. It's a really awful and distressing experience. And I had chronic pain. So I say all of it with empathy and love and understanding. But when you're in pain, I don't think you can access joy. And I don't think that's the fault of the chronic pain sufferer. I think like it's actually something physiologically happening. You like when you're in a threat state, you can't access fun and joy. So I've had some people reach out and let me know that my amount of fun and joy feels insulting to their situation. And that's been tough because I completely understand it. And I think it's something that we need to move through as part of the chronic pain journey. So I've had people share like the amount that you laugh is actually feeling disrespectful to where I'm at. And that's tough. I never want to disrespect someone's healing journey. And also I think getting in touch with that joy is a part of the healing journey. Armchair experts, which is, I feel like they're a huge, super successful version of this little niche thing that we're doing. Like armchair experts is people sitting around being like, we want to understand kind of how the brain works and how things change in all of the world. Like their reach is so big and they can cover so many different topics. And I love that I'm in a little niche. It's so successful. It is so effective. And again, it's the advice I give everyone, find a niche and be big in it. And sometimes I'm like, I wish I could break free. Like I wish I could talk about other things and bigger things. That'd be fun to try on. I just wish more people with bigger names and reaches, like influencers or celebrities that like draw a lot of energy, would come and talk about this. Because it's not like one specific person, but because this is such a common condition, literally millions of people experience chronic mind-body symptoms. People with huge audiences also experience it. But because psychotherapy is known as a confidential field, like I can't tell you who I've worked with. I can't tell you what we're working on. Like I can't deliver that information. Only the clients can do that. So that puts therapists in a really weird, we are a group of therapists and physicians, but they're confidential too, trying to change the narrative of how pain is treated. And we can't talk about the work that we do with clients in that one-on-one storytelling way that a client could. Like legally, we can't do that. So I wish more clients would talk about it in a public way, but the way we get the word out is if people who already have big followings would openly talk about their experience of chronic pain and say that it was psychologically driven. And not a lot of people are willing to do that because it's vulnerable. It's very personal work. I would dream of having Lady Gaga up in here because she's been so vocal about having so many chronic symptoms, but I think it hasn't been really clear what's helped her. But she's so close to a champion of this, and I don't know what helped her. So maybe she has no interest in it. I don't know. But she has talked about how her trauma has impacted her body so much. And I would love to take someone who, again, has so much energy and so much of a young following and help like distill all of that into our model and say, like, have a conversation about that. I think it would be amazing. But listen, that's not going to happen in my podcast, but a girl can dream. I would ask them to consider having a big presence in a smaller field or in a smaller niche. I'm never going to be the most well-known therapist for depression. It's too big. Too many millions of people have depression. There's a million different ways to treat it. It's really complicated. And I'm glad so many people are treating it. But this is a small thing that I'm doing. It has a big impact, but it's a tiny niche. So when you can really know your whole way around a field or a topic, an area of expertise, and become one of the main speakers on it, I think it's very beneficial. And I think you can speak more confidently. For me, the way that my brain works, which would be really different from other people, I can speak more confidently on these things that I know extremely well. And then it gives me the freedom when I bring on a guest or I'm talking about something I don't know well to own that. Like, that's not my area. That's not my role. That's not my monkey. I don't know much about that. And that's very freeing also. I don't have to pretend or put on any airs about that. So I always suggest niching out. And then I think the more that you can be a human first and a podcaster second, or in anything second, like I'm a human first and a therapist second for sure. I think that's why I have success with my clients. Like I am just transparently and authentically me. And that's how you connect to feelings anyway. And I think that's what podcasting is doing, is we're just accessing something felt in the listener that stirs them. Otherwise they wouldn't listen. So just the more you can be authentically yourself, the more you're going to connect to people in that way. Well, I can share that as someone who did not envision having a podcast, I think anyone can podcast. Like, you do not need to have some idea in your head like, oh, I couldn't do that, or someone like me, or that doesn't work for my area of interest. Who would want to listen to such and such? Like, if you're interested in it, other people are interested in it. And if you find it fascinating and can speak about it with passion, other people will as well. So I think anyone can be a podcaster with practice and with perseverance. And it's fun to have like people from all different areas join in that. So give it a try. Again, I'm a psychotherapist. Like, what am I doing here? And I love it.